A cylinder stove is designed for campers who like their home comforts. Just pitch the tent and set up the stove inside. It should keep things warm and toasty for most of the night. It also has a cooking surface and a tank to provide hot water so you can do all the washing up. Assuming you've brought the kitchen sink, of course. No need to huddle around a campfire to stay warm. A cylinder stove can take the chill out of Mother Nature. The cylindrical shape means it can take the heat. It will expand and contract with the temperature change and still maintain its original shape. The cylindrical firebox starts with a flat sheet of steel. A worker repeatedly feeds it through a roller until it reaches the desired shape. Then a plasma cutter cuts an opening for the stove door in another sheet of steel, following a pattern overhead. The plasma cutter works by sending an electric arc through compressed air, and the result is a clean cut. He now places the stove body on the door framework and clamps the assembly in a special jig to secure it as he welds the two parts together. He then places the backplate on the workbench and positions the other end of the cylinder on it. He clamps them and welds them together. Using the plasma cutter, he trims the front and back of the stove. From 3 flat sheets of steel to a cylindrical firebox, the process has taken less than 10 minutes. The welder now reinforces the underside of the stove top with several braces arranged in a grid pattern. This extensive bracing will prevent warping to keep the stove top perfectly flat under the intense heat of the wood fire below. This is the stove top before and after bracing. After cutting a hole for the stove pipe, he inserts a piece of pipe temporarily so that he can install a stovepipe collar. Once the collar is solidly attached to the cooktop, he removes the stovepipe. He then bends the rim of the collar in 4 places, creating tabs to keep the stovepipe from sliding into the firebox. He's now ready to join the cylindrical firebox to the stove top. He locks them in position and welds the entire assembly. This final weld seam seals the stove for an airtight and long-lasting burn. Next, he positions leg fittings on the belly of the stove, and then begins to weld them in place. Then it's back to the plasma cutter. It cuts damper holes in the stove door. Damper holes are used to regulate the flow of air to the fire. They also install a baffle plate on the back of the stove door to keep sparks from flying out into the tent. The stove door is then attached with a hinge. He tests it to confirm that it opens and closes easily. A colleague now rolls pipe for the chimney. Galvanized steel is used because it doesn't rust. He interlocks the seam and flattens it. He crimps the ends to connect the pipe to the other pieces of pipe. There are 5 pieces of stovepipe in all, and they can be stacked together for easy transport. With the latch now attached to the stove door, he sprays black stove paint onto the cylindrical firebox. This prevents rusting. Finally, he rivets a brass manufacturer's tag onto the stove front. Now it's time to pack it up. From the grate to the water tank to the stovepipe, everything can be stowed inside the firebox, making it completely portable. Assembly in the tent should take about 5 minutes. The biggest cylinder stoves are designed to hold a fire for an entire night. And with the proper setup, everyone should sleep safe and sound. A piece of heat-resistant rubber protects the tent around the stovepipe. A quick cup of tea, and it's time to bed down for the night. Sleep tight, happy campers. And don't let the bedbugs bite. Or the bears, for that matter.